this computer. Okay, so I've always told you guys, I've been very honest that there are some Mondays where I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. And I was really struggling between like 4:30 and 6, like right before I made the graphic. And I was like, what about this? And what about that? And then I was just sitting there and I was just like trying to think and all, I was just like, trying to relax. And I was like, the power of routine, like the power of routine, the power of routine, like it just kept coming to me. And so we kind of touched a little bit on it last night during the power plan, but I think it is just so important as we get into this crazy, crazy time of the year to really focus on the power of routine. And I know we talk about goal setting. I know we've talked about setting routines before, but I want to talk about some of the, I'm going to dork out on you, some of the scientific reasons behind why routines are so powerful. And if you look at top earners or not even, it's not always top earners, it's what I refer to as like those amazing people that do the best of everything that they do. They have a routine. And it doesn't mean that it's not like they're on like a hamster wheel and they only do the same thing every day, all day, every day, and it's a boring life. But because of their routines, they're able to take on projects, they're able to be creative, they're able to help people do things because their basics are covered and they don't have to think about it. So let me see, I sent myself a quote earlier. Sorry, you would think I'd have this crap ready, but no, we were chit-chatting before we started and I still wasn't ready. Okay, so I don't even know where I read this now, but I sent it to myself so I wouldn't forget. The real power in routines is the way they can help us build momentum, break bad habits, and prioritize our lives. Prioritize our lives is the one thing I don't think we talk about enough. We talk about bad habits, right? We talk about getting off on the right foot, but how often are you aware of the fact that your day-to-day routine, good, bad, or ugly, is what is prioritizing your life? You guys have routines with other people that you would never break because you would never want to disrupt their life, right? Think about back when you had babies, nap time was king. Did you not live your entire life around nap time? How many of you moms sat in a car while the baby napped because you weren't going to, yeah, exactly. And you weren't going to do that. But if you're like, okay, self, I need to get up at 5 because that's the best time for me, but you let yourself lay there till 5:30. Or okay, self, I'm going to go to bed at 10, but you let yourself stay up until 1 a.m. Like, right? Like you wouldn't do that to somebody else because you prioritize them and their life more than you're giving your own life priority. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out before we started because that's why it's so important there is no perfect routine. Like every single person's going to have a different routine that's good for them. And the tricky thing about routines is what works for you now may not work for you later. So case in point, I think like I'm going to pick on Lindsay. Lindsay probably had an amazing routine. And then what did she do? She got a puppy. Now, how many of you guys know a puppy will totally mess up your routine, right? So there's always that whenever you have a transition in your life of any kind, there's that point where you're like, oh crap, my routine isn't panning out for me anymore. And I've got to figure out something else. So you want to lock onto your routines, but you also want to remember you're human breathing or a human being that's alive and breathing. And so you're going to have to be able to switch up your routine. So there's a difference between switching up your routine and ditching your routine, right? Make sure you stay very aware of that. Ditching a routine and switching a routine are very, very different. Ditching just means giving up on yourself, not prioritizing your life. Switching means navigating something new in your life. And there's not a single face on here that I don't know doesn't have something new in their life happening to them pretty much all the damn time. So the other thing that routines can do, routine can be a powerful tool. And this particular article actually said to build a new normal. And that made me really start thinking about some of the other stuff that I've listened to lately. And you guys know I love Coach Stormy. You know I do. But I just heard a podcast from her the other day, and she was talking to a mentor, and they were like, they suggested to her that she stop calling herself Coach Stormy because people were always coming to her trying to get advice from her versus being Stormy Wellington, this amazing woman that she has become. And so she was talking about how she's no longer going to go by Coach Stormy. She's going to just go by Stormy Wellington. And she's like, that girl, I just woke her up 4 days ago. Like she literally talked about herself in third person because she was reinventing who she wanted, and her new normal started with a new name. That's a very extreme example. But how many of you call yourself something? Hot Mess Express. You've all heard me go off on that one before, right? So whether you realize or not, you're calling yourself some sort of name. If you refer to yourself as lazy, if you talk about like, and here's the thing, I'm not saying you walk around the house saying these things out loud. I want you to get real honest what happens up here, because that's something that you're calling yourself. And if you're naming yourself, that's prioritizing you, right? Somewhere in the spectrum. And you can completely reinvent yourself through the routines, and it could go all the way back to a new name. Yes. So one example of that, it wasn't her name, but remember I told Sandra she wasn't allowed to say the squirrel world anymore. And what a huge change that made when we took that out of her vocabulary. 7 months since it's like she's been sober for 7 months from the word squirrel. But Sandra, is your life not different without that word in your vocabulary? Do you not have game plans now, lesson plans for your day?
I can't use it as a cop out.
Ta-da! That's exactly it.
So there are days that there might be some up there, but I don't say it out loud because I'm not going to let them win.
Right. Because when you repeat something, even if it's something as simple as squirrel or hot mess, that's a routine. And as soon as you are repeating something, you've established your routine. So I want you to go all the way back to thinking about if you were going to be the best version of yourself, what would you refer to yourself as? It wouldn't be squirrel and it wouldn't be hot mess, right? Might be phenomenal.
Well, Arden had Siri calling her Princess Arden. So, I mean, Arden even knew this at 16.
See?
Mm-hmm.
That becomes your routine. And trust me, if you guys have ever met Arden, she would like to be treated like a princess. And if you don't, she'll let you know. But you guys, that's okay, because that's the routine. That's what she set that up, right? I have Siri call me Miss Sassy. I love it. I think that's perfect. Miss Sassy, little Miss Sassy Pants. So think about reinventing yourself through your routines, and always keep in the back of your mind that your routines may have to be reinvented as your life changes, as your goals change, as your direction change. So let me get into some of the reasons that it is so important. First and foremost, routines. Having established routines will help you cope with challenges and change. So I want you to think of a challenge you've gone through recently and how it knocked you right off your pedestal and right off of your routine, right? And you might have been lost for a day, you might have been lost for a week, you might have felt lost for a month. But then slowly but surely, you started to get your routine back and you started to get yourself back, right? So, I mean, as simple as like, it's a wonderful positive thing, but my life is different now. I have to be very aware of my new routine, right? So there's some days where I like feel kind of lost because I don't have the same routine I used to have. But I can start to use the routine I did have set in place to help establish and keep myself on track during this transitional time. So routines will help you cope with change. And if there's one thing that we all know, there's always going to be change of some kind. Routines will actually free you up to be more creative. So on like a brain level, like on a dorky level, when you have routines, you use less of your cognitive brain to function throughout the day. So that actually frees up your brain space, which may sound crazy, but you know that feeling when you're overwhelmed and there's just so much crap going on and somebody's asking you a question and there's a TV on and then somebody's back here talking about something like, you know, that feeling? That is you without a routine, because you don't know what to do next or where you're supposed to go next or what should happen next. So when you have a routine, your brain doesn't have to deal with all that. So now you have all that open space where you can actually take on projects. You can be creative. And whether the creative is you diving into something work related, like for example, to make this Lavelle related, if you have such great routines that you've got your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 down and you've got your post done for the day, and now you have this extra time and this extra brain space, you could start a detox group. You could start a 12 days of Christmas, right? That's why the routines are important, because it frees that up for you. It just, and also, I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure if you've ever done any personal development listening in the business world, you will hear over and over that people like Steve Jobs and Richard Branson, they wear the same thing all the time because they don't waste time deciding what to wear. And I know that sounds simple, But if you've ever had a time in your life where you had a uniform of any kind, unless you're 14 or younger, it is very freeing. It is incredibly freeing to just get up and put on those black yoga pants and that sweatshirt and go to work, right? Versus I've got to what shoes match this and what shirt's going to go with this and what jewelry. Like there's a lot of time and thought that goes into that. And there are times in your life where you're going to want that. But on a day-to-day basis, if you can kind of have that uniform that gets you through the day, that makes you feel polished and you don't have to think about it, that's going to free up space for you. It also frees up stress the night before of, what am I going to wear? Is the laundry clean? Makes shopping super easy. You find that pair of slacks that fits just right and you get 3 black pair and 2 beige and you move on with your life kind of thing. But the routines will like free up that space. And anytime you can take away a burden on your brain, you just feel that like, I don't know, like you just feel lighter all of a sudden, like you don't have to worry about something anymore. Have you ever had something that was like you worried about it all the time and then it went away and you're like, oh, like you literally feel your feet come off the ground. Like you just, wow, that's giving yourself brain space. So things for like one of the examples they gave was if you take your medication at the same time and you put your keys in the exact same spot every single day, that's a routine, right? You automatically spend less time worrying. How many times you're like, where's my phone? Where are my keys? I don't do it because obviously y'all know my routine with my Thrive, but I know people are like, did I take my Thrive this morning? Did I do, like they get confused because they're not taking it in the same place or the same time every day, right? Whereas if you do everything the same every day, you're done and you don't have to think about it. So again, yes, I'm talking about your health, but put this into perspective with your job, with your Lavelle. I put my work badge in the same place in my purse so I know where it is. Yes, exactly. It's little things like that. But how many times prior to you establishing that routine were you like, I have got to find a place to put this badge because I can't find it when I need it? It's like finishing your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 earlier and you have a lot more time to do other things. Yes, exactly. And I'm actually going to use you as an example, Sandra, because you said something this morning on Meeting in the Minds that this morning you had gotten up and you had gotten ready and you've gotten pretty, as you called it, because it helps you to have that routine to get through the change of winter, the dark days of winter. And so that's an example of how having a routine might seem mundane or might seem simple or like it's not a big deal, but that routine of getting up, getting dressed, moving, and getting ready, regardless if the sun is shining or if it's pitch black at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's what will keep someone going. And so it's the same thing with your business. When you start feeling overwhelmed by your business or stale in your business, take a look at your routine. When are you doing the core things with your business? I will recommend till the day I die. It's that whole eat the frog. Do your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as early in the day as possible. I'm not saying it has to be done at 5 a.m. by any means, but the earlier you do it, once it's done, that burden comes off, right? So now you have that headspace. And you also now have what Sandra's referring to as space to do other things in your business. So the example that we used the other day was when you get your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 done, now you can focus on your sample offer and following up with your samplers or mailing out the samples or making a reel. You can do things like that because you've already done all your repetitive, mundane 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 stuff. But by having that routine, and again, finding the one that works with you. I find when it's done, I'm not staying up late to complete it. Yes, that's another perfect example because it's a burden. That's the thing. Like, have you guys ever been like, I don't have it done. I'm just going to have to go to bed. I'm going to have to do it in the morning. But then you lay there in bed for 30 minutes and you think about it and you're like, well, hell, I could have got up and done it. Right. And that's with anything in life. Like I forgot to put the laundry in the dryer or I don't know, like there's all that stuff that when you go to bed at night, you're like, oh crap, I forgot. I learned a long time ago, if I think, oh crap, I forgot, I just get right back out of bed and I just go do it because I will lay there and my brain will be like, hello. I mean, I'm 48 and I still lay out my clothes at night before I go to bed because it just makes my life so much easier. And I don't even wear fancy clothes, you guys. I don't even need like ensembles anymore, but it just makes it easier. So I want to go through some things really quick because I know I want you guys to talk to me some tips that this one particular article gave it was talking about using a smartphone and setting timers and reminders on your phone, like to help with your schedule. Do we not say that all the time? Do we not say all the time, set your reminders? So I don't even know if I do it right. I'm sure there's a way to do it in my calendar, but I actually like to go and I set my alarm clock for all kinds. I have all kinds of alarms on my phone that they might go off daily, they might go off weekly. It might be like I had an alarm that went off today at 9:30 a.m. that said text Samantha and let her know it's 30 minutes till showtime because she was in time zones and we didn't know where she would be at the time. So it's things like that. Like if somebody says, hey, like today, my girlfriend texted, hey, can you pick Mia up on the 5th at 2:30 after school? Blah, 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 all these different reasons. I was like, yes. And I immediately put it on my phone as an alarm at 2 o'clock to remind myself to be there at 2:30. And why do I do that? Why do I make that part of my routine to schedule stuff immediately? Because now I don't have to think about that, right? I wrote it down. I've got track of it. I don't have to think about that. So using something, whether it's your calendar, it's your phone, a version of all of those things. However, you guys know I'm all about pen and paper, but I also love that ding, ding, ding on the phone to remind me. And one of the other big tips that they give, and I will sing this also till the day I die, pick a time to wake up and pick a time to go to bed. And it's different for everybody. And again, it will change as your life changes. I know I probably sleep more now than I did in my 20s. But I also know there are times where I've gone without. So to me, and Tom will laugh, but to me, my bedtime is 9 p.m. I fought that as a child, did not want to go to bed at 9. Now I'm like, oh my God, it's almost 9. I'm not even in bed. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm asleep yet, but I have a routine. By 9 o'clock, I have to have my teeth brushed, face washed. I've got my balance and my biotic in my system, and I'm going to curl up in bed. I might read a book, I might watch a YouTube, or I might pass out, right? But if I don't do those things in that order, if I don't have that grouping done, if I go in and lay down or I start to watch the YouTube and then it's 9:30 and I still haven't brushed my teeth and I still see how it throws everything off. And then before you know it, it's like 10:30 before I get into bed, which would be okay, except the next morning, hell or high water, I'm getting out of bed at the same time. And again, that is something that like on the weekends, like I know like when we're younger on the weekends, it's like, oh, we get to sleep in or we got to party on Friday night and get up. I'm not in that part of my life anymore. I don't care what day it is. I don't care if it's Saturday or Sunday. I get up at the same time. I go to bed at the same time because it benefits me and it makes me feel good. And that's what's important here, because if I feel good, then I can keep working my job, right? So same for you, find what works for you. If some people are just natural night owls, if 10:30 is a great time to go to bed for you, then great, do it, but stick to 10:30. Don't do 9 o'clock one night and 11:30 one night, like stick to 10:30, get there as close as possible. So the next day you can wake up at the same time and get yourself on that routine. One of the tips they gave, which you guys know I'm going to love this one, it was make physical activity manageable with things like neighborhood walks or bike rides a few times a week. You guys know I love my morning walk. I do two birds, one stone. I get to move my body and I get to listen to my podcast or my devotional or whatever I'm listening to for the day. So that's also a routine that for me personally, moving my body early in the day works. I know as I've been a trainer for years, some people love to work out at night. If you love to work out at night, great, pick a time, do it and stick with it. But again, it's picking what works for you and it's sticking to it, because again, when life comes at you, and life is going to come at us, it's going to come at all of us at some point in time. If you have that solid routine, you will do better. So I'm trying to think. Most recently, there were a few days, there was actually a week or so where we weren't getting to bed on time. We just had other things happening. And I knew it was wearing me down, but I also was aware of the fact that it was temporary because I knew my routine was in place for when everything calmed down. Right. So it's kind of like it's like the light at the end of the tunnel if you have it established. Right. Um, it also suggests things like, well, it just basically says the routines have the power to help you manage your health. And as we talked about last week, your health and your wealth are directly connected. So if you have a routine set up to help manage your health, that's going to help you in your business. And if you're healthy and you're able to focus on your business, guess what else is going to get healthy? Your business is going to get healthy, right? It's where another quote I heard was, people are so worried about balance. You know, I'm trying to balance life. I'm trying to balance home and work and all that. It's not about balance. It's about boundaries. If you set boundaries, you don't have to search for balance anymore. So for example, I don't have to like try to balance my social life with my work life because my boundary is a 9 p.m. bedtime. So I can still have all the social life I want, but I'm gonna be home by 9. And my friends know that. And they know I'm leaving early. They know we're gonna have dinner early. And that's just a boundary that I have set, right? My like balancing work. So if, for example, I could be like, oh, I gotta balance the fact that Samantha has this amazing leg out in Arizona and they're on a 2 to 3 hour time difference. No, I have a boundary. My phone gets turned off, but my phone also gets turned back on at an early time. So again, if you're constantly trying to make people happy and try to keep things 50-50 and everything be so great, that's going to wear you out really, really fast. So you have to set the routine, which then in turn will set the boundaries for you, right? The only reason I would probably skip my morning walk right now is if someone called and said, hey, our flight to Cabo leaves at 6 a.m. I'm like, I'm at the airport and, we'll walk the damn airport before we take off, right? I would still find a way to fit it in there. But it's setting those boundaries so that you can establish what works for you. I often think of it as like having appointments with yourself. So if you said to me, I have a 10 a.m. dentist appointment and I absolutely can't miss it, I would understand that, right? But then every now and then it'll be like, oh, there's a 10 a.m. Zoom. I can't do it this week because whatever. Well, was it an appointment with yourself? Or was, like, did you set that boundary or did you let someone walk over that? Like when somebody calls and says, like my one girlfriend, she's so cute. We try to eat lunch on Fridays more than not together. And she'll be like, okay, are we doing brunch or lunch this Friday? And all of November, I was like, listen, girl, we're gonna have to meet on Thursdays because we had feature Friday at 12:30 every Friday in the month of November. And I'm like, I can't do lunch in November because we've got this thing going on. So again, it's setting the boundary, it's setting the routine, it's setting the schedule. They all go together. And there's so much power in that. So the reason, again, let me wrap this up in a little bow, as Lindsay would say, the reason I wanted to talk about this and get you guys really thinking about this, number one, every single day of the week, you can set new routines, which will create the new you. So if you are feeling stale, if you are feeling run down, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling lost, decide who you want to be and set the routine to make it happen. Right? I was feeling fat and frumpy and lazy. And so I set a new routine and that helped me feel amazing. Also, the reason it's so important is because Christmas is coming. And so how many people are going to be pulling at you, right? But if you have your routine that has established your boundaries, then you know what you can and can't do, what you want to do and not to do. Lisa says, Ed Milet says, keeping promises to yourself builds your self-confidence. Some mornings, that's the only thing that gets me out of bed. And yes, girl, that morning that it was 17 degrees outside, I woke up and I was like, I told Tom, I go, today's the day I'm not going on my walk. He's like, oh, okay. And then, of course, we got up, we fed the dogs. I had to take the dogs outside. And I was like, I'm going to wait till a little bit later. I'm going to let it warm up some. Then I came back in the house and I was like, well, that's stupid. I was just out there and I went on my walk. And the whole time I kept thinking, I'm keeping my promise to myself. I'm keeping my promise to myself. And you do, sometimes you just have to remind yourself. And that's what I was talking about, like prioritizing your life. When you set these routines that are working for you and they're helping you feel good and they're helping you feel amazing, like how many of you have ever been like, okay, I'm going to eat chicken and salad every day for the next 15 days because I need to clean up my food. But then a friend calls, do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? Let's go out for dinner. Okay. I do want to go out for dinner with you, but let me look at a couple places first because I want to go through the menu. I'm whatever you want to call it. I'm following a meal plan. I made a commitment to myself, whatever you want to call it. And that's the thing. Like, again, if your friend really wants to eat with you, they'll understand. And as a trainer, I will tell you, there's pretty much not a place you can't get a piece of grilled chicken and some salad somewhere. So again, it's setting the boundary in your routine so that you are creating the person you want to be. I don't know. I could talk about routines for days because it does make such a difference. It's literally deciding who you want to be. And here's the thing, reverse engineer this. Who are you right now? And there's one or two things that you're like, that's not working for me. Okay, think, what is the routine? What is the thing you keep repeating that keeps getting you into this spot that you're not comfortable with? Right? Where are you that you're uncomfortable? I can guarantee you the only place you are in life is the place you put yourself. And how you get somewhere is what you do repeatedly. Right? So if you are someplace and you're not, it's not, maybe your health isn't where you want to be. Maybe your house isn't where you want it to be. Maybe your mindset isn't where you want it to be. Maybe your money isn't where you want it to be. What is the habit? If someone says to me, man, my finances are a mess, but then they're shopping here and shopping there, and they've got credit cards and they're not, they're not doing or they're doing the minimum, and they're like, that's a habit, that's a routine. They're keeping themselves there, right? It's the same when someone's like, oh man, I can't fit in these jeans as they eat a piece of pizza. And the night before they had a burger, right? Like it's the routine. And it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to understand that it's not hard to understand. It's hard to accept that the things we do repeatedly are the things that we are doing repeatedly. And if there's a point in time where you're like, yeah, but because, like, it would be very easy for someone to say, well, my kid. What would I tell you if you blamed it? If you blamed anything on someone else, what would I say? What's your boundary? What boundary did you set? And here's the thing. I know we're alive. Maybe your kid got up at 2:30 in the morning, was puking. I get it. But if your kid wants to watch a show or your kid wanted to do that, and your kid, like, that's different, right? That's repeating using someone else. So I hope this helps. I hope this helped you think about some things, because I cannot encourage you enough to just pick one thing that you're going to add or subtract as part of your routine and get that going. Because again, Christmas is coming. I don't know how else to say it. Christmas is coming. Chaos will ensue. And that I want you to go and have all the fun. And I will go and I'll have all the fun. I'll be in bed by 9. Like that's what brings it back to me. I'm not saying I can't go have fun. I can have all the fun I want, but I also know I want to be in bed. Right? I haven't really been drinking alcohol since April. I have gone out and done all kinds of fun things, but I just know I don't feel great after I drink it. And so I just haven't been drinking it. But I haven't stopped having fun. I haven't stopped going places. I haven't stopped traveling. Right? So you can set the boundaries that benefit you. And you also have to stop repeating the cycles that are putting you into a hole in the ground. So figure out what your hole is, figure out one tiny step that would get you out of that hole, and start repeating it every single day. Okay, love you bunches. Bye.